All right. So with Hillary Clinton's abysmal performance in Minnesota, only managing 46% of the vote, nearly losing every rural county in a landslide to Trump, people have been asking a question. Does Minnesota have the possibility of going Republican in the next election? And honestly, with the way the Democratic Party is going right now, abandoning the working class and only focusing on millennials, only focusing on urban centers, focusing on Russia, supporting the horrible trade deals, and being more unpopular than Trump right now, they're setting themselves up to lose. But not only that, they run the risk of losing Minnesota. And you may be thinking, what's the big deal about that? It's only like 10 electoral votes. Well, the thing is, once the Democrats lose Minnesota, it's over. Because if they can't manage to hold Minnesota, how on earth are they going to carry more right-wing states like Ohio, Iowa, Michigan, and Wisconsin? They can't. And another big issue is that, you see, the Republicans are overwhelmingly winning rural areas. The only area in all of Minnesota last election where the Democrats won overwhelmingly was the Twin Cities. Eventually, that's not going to be enough to hold the state. And another thing that people are not talking about, which people should be talking about, is the Arrowhead region of Minnesota. This used to be, and probably still is, the most liberal area in all of Minnesota. You see through all these elections, 56, 60, 64, 68, 72. This area is the most dark blue area in all of Minnesota. The Democrats used to win by a landslide in this region of Minnesota every single election up until this one. Hillary Clinton only managed 51% of the vote in St. Louis County, which used to be the most liberal county in all of Minnesota. It's time for Minnesota Democrats to panic, because that's not normal. And another issue is, look how dark red these areas are. No Republican has carried a county in Minnesota by more than 70% since Dwight Eisenhower. And this just isn't happening in Minnesota, no. This is happening in every single state across America. It's happening in Rhode Island. It's happening in Maine. Every state. Minnesota is no different. Democrats need to reassess everything, because they need to stop just focusing on younger voters in urban centers. Because at this rate, once they lose the Arrowhead region, Minnesota is gone. All right? The Arrowhead region has not gone Republican since before the Great Depression. All right? Every other area in Minnesota has been Democratic and Republican at some point, not the Arrowhead region. And, Trump has been targeting this area as of recently. He knows if he can flip this area, he has the state. And honestly, we're looking at, it could be next election we could see Minnesota flip. There's a good chance it could happen. I think at this point it's a 50-50 chance. Because with how close Minnesota was, and the Democrats are probably going to put up someone horrible for the next election, it could happen. So how can the Democrats reverse this? Well, first of all, they need to stop focusing on just urban centers and campaign everywhere. And what I mean is they got to do a 50-state strategy. They got to focus on rural voters, because they already got urban voters on lock, okay? There's nothing they could do to lose those urban voters, all right? They need to go to the suburbs, and they need to go to rural voters, okay? Another thing is they need to stop focusing on millennials, okay? I know people don't like millennial bashing, but the thing is, millennials and the working class have different political ideologies, okay? And the working class is the majority of voters because millennials don't vote. So why on earth would you focus on a demographic that doesn't vote? It doesn't make any sense. And another issue is people will say, well, the reason why the rural areas don't vote Democrat is because they're socially conservative. Well, the thing is, why does really socially liberal Democrats like Dukakis and Mondo manage to carry these rural areas? The thing is, you can be a liberal and still appeal to rural voters. This has been proven. Watch the Western Pennsylvania video I made. Carter, Mondale, and Dukakis all carried Western Pennsylvania by more than 50% of the vote. And that's supposedly the heart of Trump land right now. Okay? Think about it. West Virginia used to go to the Democrats. And that's not considered a liberal state, even though they used to vote for left-wing Democrats. So it can happen. But is it going to happen? Probably not. And honestly, it's pretty sad to see like states like Virginia more Democratic than Minnesota. But it is what it is. Something's going to happen. Something's changing. But anyway, that's all for this. More videos coming soon.